9th of February 2023, Thursday, 11:50 a.m. And I want to do this video because I've been trying to get in action pretty much since I've woken up with how to make today work. And I didn't have a set sort of boundary in place per se. Okay, so there's nowhere I actually have to be. I haven't got anything lined up for. I do have to get the kiblets from stock and fed before 5 p.m. But apart from that, there actually isn't a time frame for today, and there is a humongous amount of things I need to do. Like the list of what I have to do, need to do is fucking overwhelming. Like mind-bogglingly overwhelming actually, and things are really getting on top of me. Like, but not in a terrible way. But like things like the garden, my zest for the garden is. You know, I can see that things are suffering. I can see that the garden's suffering because I haven't got that. I haven't done a beautiful just garden day. Like I love gardening, right? And I haven't done just a day of just flourishing in the garden because I've been too focused on this fucking plastering and fucking painting and doing the hard yakka shit that just needs to be done to fucking get this house as a fucking home. So, like, very little joy. Okay, let's just put it that way. Just very little joy, a lot of hard work, a lot of suffering. And the things that... And my garden is suffering right now. It's suffering chronically. But I don't... You know, things need mulching. I need to do a fair bit of weeding. There's some plants that are getting strangulations. I've got... I'm not on top of the watering like I should be. Anyways, all that aside, trying to get the kitchen emptied out enough that I can get the ladder in place to paint that wall like what I just showed you before. I went to the bathroom to put my hair up, and then I just did a big prayer to God, you know, and then I just, in my praying to God, like, please take this irky feeling out of my body, you know, I just sort of burst into tears. And then I got this feeling of, I think I know my anxiety and my frustration I was feeling this morning, this betrayal trauma. It's just really like, how can people be so cruel? Yeah, there's some very selfish, cruel people in this world. Each one of those people who's really selfish and cruel is extremely traumatized and not dealing with their pain, and they just throw it out. They inflict it on everyone else around them. You know? They just go, I'm going to go into... They're not consciously even going, I'm going to denial about this. I am not going to feel this feeling, and I'll do anything I can to make sure I don't feel this feeling. And I'm going to go out of my way to be, you know, I will be judgmental, and I'm going to be scathing, and I'm going to be sarcastic, and I'm going to be belittling, and I'm going to chastise, and I'm going to be on my arrogant, high and mighty. Oh, gotta make sure I keep building up this high and mighty, very unstable tower to make sure I constantly keep feeling like I'm better than everyone else, and I must keep putting everyone down. Must make sure everyone feels bad about themselves. Yeah. Gotta make sure everyone feels bad about themselves, because that's the only way I'm gonna fucking feel okay about myself. I'm gonna fucking drown. I'm gonna fucking drown if I even feel any sense of, oh, maybe I don't feel good enough, or maybe I don't feel competent or capable, or maybe I feel like I'm making mistakes, or maybe I'm feeling fear, or maybe I'm feeling, you know, panic, or maybe I'm feeling really hurt by something that someone's done to me, or maybe I just got this unresolved issue from my childhood. There's a myriad feelings, emotions, thoughts, acceptances, and reflections these people need to actually experience. And they are doing everything to make sure they don't feel any of it. And you know the way they do it? They do that by being cruel to others. And they are ruthless in their cruelty. Ruthless. And that is how so many of us have to live with this pain of betrayal trauma, narcissistic abuse trauma, unbalanced, unhealthy, unmoving forward, non-committed, non-healing, trauma bond connection dynamics. Yeah. Do you know that trauma bonds, I know for a fact, trauma bonds can be healed. I know for a fact now that God creates and allows and permits people to come together with their trauma bonds to heal, to work through and to become more godly. Like it's within those trauma bonds that they get their deep sense of compassion and understanding and forgiveness and acceptance and humility and all those different emotions that one has when they connect to and understand and just really desire to be with that person, that there's so much of a common bond of understanding. And I'm repeating myself with my words, but I do believe, and I firmly now, I can't wait to back this up with phrases from the Bible, phrases from other books. I can't wait to research this. This is what my book's going to be written on, the different elements of trauma for sure, because unlike what the clinical psychologists state, the worldly view of trauma bond and the worldly view of the narcissistic empath dynamic, okay, the godly view is actually almost the opposite. And so when you do this journey like what I've been doing of trying to decipher cruelty, and how can someone be so cruel? Someone who professes they love you and married you from choice, and married because they feel like I'm the best thing that's ever happened to them and they never loved anyone like me and rah rah. How can someone who professes all that be the cruelest person I've ever experienced in my life? Same person. And we can equate that to parent-child, like, children who have parents that do really painful things. And I've shared with you a lot on my YouTube channel that I've come to a very clear understanding that, I've given my husband many, many leeways and allowances and overcompromised constantly for years, thinking that he was possibly autistic or on the autism spectrum, right? So, also I'll be just really generous and compassionate and kind and overcompensating, and then over time we'll build some skill sets to work around that then allow my needs to be acknowledged and understood more. And I kept thinking, when the house is organised and when we've got it settled, and then we get into a routine and a rhythm, and we'll develop some communication skill sets around the autism, so that I'm not constantly over compromising. But I left it too late. I got burnt out. I just got my needs weren't being met at all. Like, my husband lacks deep compassion and deep empathy, and now I've come to understand commitment and also love, like what the essence of love really is. He does not yet actually embody that. He does not yet embody love and kindness and compassion, because he doesn't actually have it for himself yet, if ever, but at the moment, yet, okay? And I've come to the very glaring realization, have had it illuminated like a truck smashing me down, that my husband's trauma bond with his siblings is astronomically fucking, you know, fucking Satan is there. Satan is completely and utterly in that family's dynamic with themselves and with each other and with everyone that they bring into their web. So I got brought into that web. However, I firmly accept and believe and acknowledge and honour that God wants me there. I do believe, I accept in gratitude, appreciation, faith, graciousness, humility, honour. God got a big plan, and part of God's plan for me is to be a very big catalyst in many people's healings. So I'm utilised. God utilises me to help get the devil out, get Satan out of people's lives, to get people to really look at the evil within themselves, to look at the trauma within themselves that's surviving and just, I was going to use the word thriving, but it's not thriving, surviving and squirmingly sort of what word do I use there? Prevalent, right? This dark, dense trauma energy that's fueled by satanical forces, fueled by dark energy. I do keep meeting people. I've been meeting people my whole life, and I do keep meeting people that feel like they're justified in attacking me when their dark energies are such that they can't cope with them, and they like to victimize. They like to scapegoat me. They think that it's okay to, say and do very mean things to me, right? Because they're either really triggered by my light or they're reactive to the mirror that they see. They might see a similar trauma within me, and they, rather than look at it within themselves, they want to project and put me down rather than look at themselves. And in the past, there's been plenty of time when I've taken the bait. There's been plenty of times when I believed what they said about me, and I used to, actually doubt my own integrity. I used to doubt my own truth, and I've been gaslighted many a time in my life. I've had many people try to say that what I believe things to be is not actually how it was. This is actually how it was. What you think it was has never really happened. And I've got a very, very good memory. And not only do I have a very good memory, I'm present. I often, when I'm in an experience, I'm embodied in my body. So I don't only just remember what was said and where we were. I remember my feelings. I remember the feeling of the other. I remember face expressions. I even remember smells. So I've actually got a very firm, good, clear memory, mental and visual, viscally and auditory, and also within my being, kinesthetic, right? So that's why when people try to gaslight me and try to say that how I remember things, how things were, I'm like, well, the main thing I do is what was I feeling? What was I feeling? What was actually happening in my body? And that immediately reminds me of what I heard, what I saw. And then the other person can say whatever they want to say, but I remember what I was feeling in my body because I was present, right? And so that is how I can completely not always remember the truth of the situation, because it doesn't matter what my brain might change a memory a little bit, or might tweak some words, or it might twist something, or it might remember something slightly different. But if I go back to the original feeling in my body, then it actually brings back the actual, usually I can remember even where the person was, what they were doing. It takes me back to the actual moment that it actually really happened. And then I can predominantly remember what was actually really said. And then I'm able to go, no, no, no. Anyway, this has been happening most of my life, okay? Most of my life, people have been trying to say things like, you don't remember how it really happened, or this is how it really was. And then they're shocked when I can go, well, actually, do you remember this? And you're sitting there, I said it, and they go, oh, yeah, actually. And I go, well, then just a minute ago, you were denying that it even happened. No, I never denied it. I said, a minute ago, you were denying it. You're outright denying it. You've only just remembered it in the last 40 seconds. And now you're trying to say you didn't deny it? Like, are you even listening to yourself? You know, this is what happened with this lady that came into my house the other day, trying to gaslight me like you wouldn't believe, because she doesn't want to remember things for how they really were. And then she tried to attack me in my own house. And I said, you need to get the truth in yourself. You need to stop lying, and you need to get the truth happening in your brain. You need to become more present. I said, and stop trying to throw your crap on other people. And I said, no, I'm not accepting it. Okay, I'm not accepting it no more. So God's been teaching me constantly, my whole life. I've been in training for how to step up to bullies and narcissists and the devil, evil, because I'm an advocate for God's will. I'm an advocate for people going through their hard work and going through their evil journey, their journey illuminating the dark within themselves. And this actually comes with being attacked. That process of being an advocate to support people within their own healing process, or to, advocate's not the right word there, but to be like a support person, which is what an advocate is, but there's a better word. I'll come up with the right word. Not facilitator, okay? Not facilitator. Advocate's not quite the right word, because I'm not speaking on behalf of them. But I've come to realise that this betrayal trauma, this feeling inside my body that I was talking about earlier, that just this grief, this deep grief is it's just the anguish of all the cruelty that I've had directed at me. You know what I mean? Jesus got it. Anyone who does God's work gets it. We all get attacked. We all under persecution. Like, the devil does not want us to succeed, you see. Devil's got no hope. Devil can't squish us. We've got God's protection. We're never going to be taken down. The devil tries very hard to take us down. The devil doesn't want... See, the devil and satanical forces are rife. It's in wokeism culture. It's in pop psychology culture. It's rife at universities. It's rife in the education field. Universities are a breeding ground of satanical normalization. The media, social media, the music industry, the like, Satan is rife. Satanical forces are rife on planet Earth at the moment. But satanical forces will never prevail. See, truth and honesty and love always prevail. And Satan's forces are based on illusion, lies, fear, and those forces need a supply. They need to have reactions from the heartfelt love people. They can't feed themselves. They're like vampires, okay? This is why if you're dealing with narcissism, which most of us are, because narcissism is an epidemic at the moment. The reason why narcissism is an epidemic is because Satan is working through anyone who has fear in their life. And actually, narcissism is actually the devil's work, the devil's trait. So all these, and that's why narcissism is actually completely healable. Do you know why? Because the minute you bring God into your life, the devil can't do any work, and immediately that narcissistic trait of that person is healed. Clinical psychologists and many people who are spouting lots of information about narcissism right now will say it's an irrecoverable disease, an irrecoverable trait. Just run. Shut your doors down. Don't give them any more empathy. Yeah, great. Put your boundaries in place. But, in my opinion, do it with a God's protection, the shield of faith, armour of God. So I do not know yet whether my husband is a narcissist. He's definitely displaying her horrifying narcissistic traits. He's definitely displaying the energy of someone who's got the devil in him, and someone who's been very in every way. There's not a single godly action that is coming. He's not. There's nothing godly about how he's been right now, but God is working miracles with him. Why do I know that? Because God is affirming that with me. And also, I'm constantly praying for my husband. And the mandate, the delegated authority of the wife's prayers over her husband, God listens to Ezra's, the wife, helper of her husband. Her prayers are one of the most powerful prayers that a man could ever have. A husband who has a wife praying for him is under protection of God. Well, not necessarily under protection, but God listens to those prayers. And God may still be going, okay, this person needs to experience this, this, and this, and this, and this. And you could say, well, that's not really protection if they've got, experiencing these trials and tribulations that are just wrenching them completely away from their heart and their soul and being godly. But people need to be broken, you see. People need to get completely broken in order to fully surrender in full will. God can't intervene in anyone's life unless we surrender in full surrender. Most of us are too egotistical, too worldly, too caught up in patterns from the world. Many of us are too caught up in habits and patterns that are actually opposite to what God wishes for us. Battery's going flat again. So it's not full humility, it's not full surrender. So it's from that place of being so broken, we've got nowhere. We're so low, we can't go any lower. Well, we got death. Obviously, we can choose death, and some people do choose that process, and then they really are done for. But for those of us who go so low and we don't suicide, okay, and for those of us who are so low and we don't let the devil take over, okay, of course. When we're so broken, many people from that broken place go, okay, bring on the devil. I'm going to go down and then they're the people that do the mass shootings, the drive-by. That's just the waste. That's the Avon waste, not the recycling, but the actual Avon waste, picking up the garbage bins. I just want to say that people who have a car and they drive through the malls, like Burke Street Mall in Melbourne, people who do mass shootings, people do, mass shootings and suicide, mass bombings, do mass murder basically, or people who do very demonic, very, very destructive, very excruciatingly out of control evil acts. Yes, they hit rock bottom. They hit complete rock bottom. And then they gave themselves to the devil. Okay, so they made that choice of giving themselves to the devil, and they became a devil's servant completely and utterly, right? Now there are actually those people who hit rock bottom. There are those people who hit rock bottom, and then in that place of rock bottom, they surrender to God. They completely surrender to God. And it's in that process of surrendering to God that then we become the true children of God, when we completely accept that we're a child of God and that Jesus is our Saviour. It's in that place that then our prayers are just phenomenally powerful. And it's when we get to that place that the devil, before we do the full surrender, the devil keeps stepping in. I'm going to break you, I'm going to break you, I'm going to make you mine. But once we do the full surrender to God, and we fully accept we're a child of God, and we fully accept the grace of God, and we fully accept we're forgiven, and that to be fully forgiven, we've also got to forgive, and that to the grace of God means bringing the, godliness into us, that compassion, kindness, true compassion, true kindness, true humility. Temperature too high, I've got to cool